Chapter 9, A Place to Call Home. Harlan had never been a man to dwell on hardship, but life had a way of testing even the toughest souls. The first stroke came as a cruel surprise. It robbed him of his strength, left his right hand trembling, and made even the simplest tasks exhausting. But what hurt more was what followed. His wife, his partner of so many years, had seen the writing on the wall. She didn't sign up for this life, and she didn't intend to stay for it. She packed up and left, and just like that, Harlan was alone. He recovered as best he could, pushing himself to regain mobility, to keep working, to hold on to his shop. But the truth was, the struggle was mounting. He had moved into a small apartment, downsizing to what he could afford on his dwindling means. The rent was higher than he liked, stretching his limited finances thin. One night, sitting in the dim glow of his apartment's kitchen, Harlan poured Wyatt a drink and leaned back with a tired sigh. "You ever hear about tax sales?" he asked, swirling the liquid in his glass. Wyatt shook his head. "Not really." Harlan smirked. "Figures most folks don't pay attention, but I've been watching them for years. County auctions off properties where the owners didn't pay their taxes. If you know what you're looking for, you can get a place for next to nothing. Of course, there's risks, but smart money knows how to play it." Wyatt leaned in, intrigued. Harlan might not have been rich, but the man was sharp. If he thought there was something worth looking into, it probably was. A few weeks later, Harlan took Wyatt to one of those auctions. The room was filled with seasoned bidders. Real estate investors and a handful of hopeful first-timers. Harlan pointed out the angles, explaining how to read between the lines of the listing sheets, how to gauge the risk on each property. Then a house caught Wyatt's eye, a modest place not too far from his own home. It was in better shape than most on the list, and the opening bid was low. He took a chance, raised his number, and before he knew it, the property was his. "Not bad, kid," Harlan said as they walked out. "You just made your first real investment." But Wyatt hadn't bought the place just for himself. He had bought it with Harlan in mind. Harlan's apartment rent was bleeding him dry, and with his health uncertain, he needed stability. Wyatt knew that no matter how proud Harlan was, he wouldn't accept charity, but he would accept a fair deal. When Wyatt made the offer, he phrased it carefully. "I need a reliable tenant, someone who'll take care of the place. I want to know you up for it." Harlan eyed him for a long moment, reading between the lines. He saw the unspoken gesture, the respect behind it. Wyatt wasn't offering a handout, he was offering security. And for once, Harlan let himself take it. "Yeah," he said finally. "I think I am." He moved in a few weeks later, settling into the small but comfortable house just a few streets over from Wyatt's home and shop. He had a place to call his own, a roof over his head that didn't feel like a burden. And more than that, he had a sense of peace, knowing that in all the years he had spent teaching, guiding, and looking out for Wyatt, the kid had been paying attention. Most evenings, Harlan still made his way over to Wyatt's shop, though his hands were in his study, and his work was as fast. He sat in his usual corner, watching, advising, and occasionally tossing out a sarcastic remark when Wyatt overcomplicated something. The young man had learned well, but Harlan still had plenty of wisdom left to give. Wyatt's daughter had taken to him, often climbing onto his lap with a picture book, asking him to read, and though Harlan had never had children of his own, he found comfort in the warmth of Wyatt's growing family. The second stroke would come later, forcing Harlan into full retirement, but by then, he was already where he needed to be, close to the people who mattered, with a home that was his. In a life where he was still valued, and for a man who had spent his life chasing perfection in metal and paint, that was the best finish you could have asked for.